Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the most evil company that took over the USA. And in the thumbnail, it's Teemu. And I mean, I do know what Teemu is because it wasn't just the US that it was taking over and probably still is in the UK. I mean, I just remember seeing, maybe like 2 months ago, like if you send, I think like a link of Teemu to someone else, and then they would use your link to download it, you would get like money from it, like £50 or something, or $50 or something like that. It was crazy, and it's a site from China. I mean, with all like the TikTok stuff, with like the US trying to ban TikTok and all the problems that I feel like TikTok's definitely causing amongst the younger generation, they would have learned. I don't really know how Temu's managed to be able to get into the US, because when you think about like the big phone companies, or one of the biggest, or sorry, the biggest, Apple or iPhone, and then they've got the App Store, you would think that maybe they wouldn't allow Temu to come into the US, but I don't know how it really works. I don't understand how China can have such a good ability in like making these apps and then just getting them to the US and then making them explode. Because like you've got TikTok, which was sort of like a knockoff YouTube. It is a bit different, and YouTube's actually copied a lot of stuff from TikTok. But Temu's like, that is a full-on knockoff Amazon. Like Temu, the stuff I've seen like videos of people like ordering stuff on there. It's like cheaply made stuff. I guess it's all made in China, which is part of it because why it's so cheap. All made in China. It's brittle. Like I feel like 95% of the stuff is just not long lasting. Like, and I think the whole issue with it is it's just like tracking people. So if it's on your phone, it's tracking what you do. So in the case of it being in the US, it's tracking a lot of things that Americans do. But yeah, it was big in the US. In the UK, I mean, I got sent links for it as well. Um, but yeah, I don't fully know much, like a lot about the company or like what truly is like their intentions. I assume this video may go into that, but we're gonna check this out and I guess see how the US is trying to combat this. But based off this title, I don't know if they are able to, because it says it's took over the US. So we're gonna check this out. Hopefully, going to enjoy. Hopefully, you're doing well, and let's jump into this reaction.
If you've been on the internet recently, you've probably seen an ad like this or this or this. This is Teemu, the new Chinese e-commerce company that's taken over the world. Despite just launching it in 2022, Teemu has since spread to over 50 countries. It was the most downloaded app in the US in 2023,
Jeez.
reaching over 50 million monthly users. It is
Flipping
the
out.
second most visited commerce website on Earth, and in January 2024, sales were up over 800%. You might have heard about it from the literal billions they've spent on ads across Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or those famous ones from the Super Bowl, or you've heard of them through word of mouth.
They had Super Bowl ads. What? Temu had Super Bowl ads. God damn.
That's because everything on Teemu is just so cheap. I'm talking about shoes for $20, an Apple Watch for $20, and a shiesty for less than $5. What? Teemu is the child of Pinduoduo, the original Chinese e-commerce company who specialized in bulk purchasing agricultural goods with your friends and strangers. Pinduoduo, now PDD, blew up during the COVID lockdowns, mainly in smaller Chinese cities hit hardest by losing access to stable supply chains. Teaming up with strangers helped keep them running smoothly and farmers in business. Teemu, though, built for Western audiences and regulations, doesn't use the bulk purchasing model like PDD does, but they do copy one thing. Shopping with Teemu is like playing a slot machine.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Roulette wheels are spun for deals on your shopping carts. Timers tick down as the site pushes you to make a quick decision. Purchases can be split into 4 separate ones down the line, no matter how cheap the item is, and you feed virtual fish to get credit for more purchases. Using Teemu is like shopping at a mix between the thrift store and a casino, and it works. In 2023, sales topped over $5 billion in America. Traffic was up almost 85% on Black Friday, earnings almost tripled in a year, and PDD became the largest Chinese commerce company by market cap, beating out longtime giant Alibaba. This is all a little odd. PDD Holdings is not a very transparent company. For a company of their value, they employ a remarkably little amount of people, around 13,000. They have little hard assets, little disclosure on their payouts, and quite opaque financial statements. Not to mention the challenge of actually distinguishing between Teemu's and Pinduoduo's value in their little amount of data that's released. So, if you don't really know where your money is going when it's plopped into Teemu, why are so many Americans investing in it?
Investing?
It's because this website is not your typical dropshipper or retailer. Of course, like the average one, Teemu handles all the marketing stuff on their end. Suppliers are generally good at making their products, but less so at getting them out into the world. But unlike a typical supply chain that might go factory, warehouse, storefront, purchase, Teemu cuts these middle ones out and sells them directly from the factory. One benefit of this is that with over 100,000 suppliers in the country with by far the largest manufacturing base on Earth, Teemu can flood their website with products ranging from cat toys to drill bits to anything you can think of. Why Teemu does this and what investors really love about the service is that they provide a solution to the manufacturer's puzzle, the need to constantly predict market demand. A manufacturer wants to make as many little trinkets as people will buy, no more, no less. If they make too many, they'll need to store them for a hefty cost, and if they make too little, they're not making as much money as they could be making, which in the world of business is the cardinal sin. Instead of constantly trying to predict demand with models and statistics, wouldn't it be so much easier if they could just know how many products people will buy? Teemu thinks so too. Think about it from the perspective of selling toys. Christmas season is coming up and the toy manufacturer has 8 designs you can choose between. A company like a company like Amazon has to predict which ones are going to sell well and roughly how many people are willing to buy. If they do this beforehand, they can minimize the amount of time the toys are sitting on their shelves or in their warehouses, getting the toy to the buyer as quickly as possible. But Teemu flips this on its head. Because they cut out the middlemen, that toy manufacturer with 8 different products can put them all up on the website and literally see which ones sell better than others. They can cut out all those costs of storing them, handling them, and the retailer's marketing of them. The catch is, because they're not buying them in advance, it takes a long time for a Teemu package to arrive at your door, because it takes time to produce these toys and deliver them from scratch.
But you're getting homemade toys. I mean, who doesn't want that? You're getting the toys specifically made for you. Wow. That's interesting. I mean, it's obviously working, but I don't know how. I've never ordered from this. I don't know how much longer it will take to order stuff from Teemu. But like with Amazon, you get it next day. I guess with Teemu, maybe it's like a week, maybe longer. I guess maybe sometimes you don't get what you've actually ordered, but I don't actually know.
Takes as many as 15 business days to arrive at your door.
There you go.
Compared to Amazon's 2. It takes longer for the buyer, but this way every product is its own little market survey. That's why Teemu has so many weird products and plastic doodads. The bizarreness is part of their strategy. Put everything up on their website and then see which little trinkets stick and which ones they can scrap. Shein, another Chinese e-commerce.
Shein's Chinese? What? I did not know that. I mean, it makes sense that it's so cheap. But I did not know Shein was Chinese.
Which specializes in fast fashion, uses a similar strategy. I did some shopping around here, but this website, it wasn't for me. I won't lie though, it has an appeal to it. All of these clothes are just so cheap. By working with over 6,000 textile factories across China and also employing a similar stick everything on the app and see what people buy model, in 2021, Shein was able to add 20 times more new items to their service than H&M and Zara combined.
Flip it out.
Oh, and it also outsold these two as well.
Mad.
Shein makes up only a fifth of all e-commerce sales from China. but the versatility of textilers could be why over half the total sales are fashion related. This model just works best with easily variable items. The problem with this waiting game is that the products are usually of such low quality, Temu customers get frustrated and shift back to the big players. Oftentimes, products are not what's described. Other times, it's a cheap knockoff of an established brand that would probably lose you credibility if you wore them outside. Or sometimes they're too unsafe to use.
Yeah, I'm not buying a heater or a fan from Teemu, no thank you.
I personally wouldn't recommend getting a toaster on there.
No.
Goldman Sachs has estimated that the retention of Temu, the number of customers who will come back to purchase another orange package, is only around 30%. Amazon Prime has a retention rate around 90%. This ultra cheap, test and repeat, advertised everywhere model may work to reel people into the service, but it doesn't seem to get them to stick around. Savvy business practices may not be the only reason Temu has performed so well, but before we talk about the other theory of their growth, I want to thank Grammarly for sponsoring this video.
He secured the bag. Get that money, man. Get that money.
Controversial reason today. So big thank you to Grammarly, and now let's ask, how did Temu grow so fast? Another, more controversial reason is often blamed for this explosion of cheap Chinese goods into the West. Import laws, specifically the de minimis thresholds. If a parcel coming into the country is below this certain value, then you don't have to declare it, it doesn't have to be taxed, and it doesn't have to be regulated. The idea behind this is that it's not worth a country's administrative capacity to go through every tiny little package when they could spend their time looking for drugs and enforcing tariffs on the larger, easier to handle containers. The specific value this is varies by country. In Canada, the threshold is 20 Canadian dollars. In the EU, 150 euros. In the UK, 135 quid. In Japan...
Yeah, I know that because my girlfriend buys like clothes to sell in bulk, and when it's over 135 she has to pay so much more just for the tax or whatever it is.
And it's 10,000 yen. In China, 50 yuan. Many countries have a threshold of 0, and in America, the world's largest consumer market, it's $800.
Flipping hell.
That is very high globally, and it was actually increased from $200 in 2016 to reduce costs to businesses and increase trade.
Jeez.
The National Foreign Trade Council, a trade association that includes companies like Amazon, eBay, and FedEx, was certainly happy to increase the amount of packages coming into the US, but so were their opponents. If you look at Temu's prices, a package with them would almost definitely fall under $800. Pretty much no matter what you buy. And because it's shipped directly from the manufacturer, not through a wholesaler who tries to move things in bulk, Temu orders almost always fall under de minimis in the US. Since the online shopping boom of the pandemic and the highest inflation in a generation, de minimis imports have boomed in America to around 2 million a day. 600,000 of these are estimated to be from Temu and Shein alone.
Wow.
600,000 a day. Assuming that's roughly 9,000 tons of knickknacks, that translates to around 90 Boeing 777s coming into the US full of Temu and Shein orders daily. These are individual, unlabeled packages coming in, making it very hard to enforce any sort of rules, regulations, or keep data on them. Contrary to the trend of slowing Chinese exports, growing only 0.6% in 2023, direct-to-consumer e-commerce exports grew by 69%, 230 times the average, and America received over a third of these e-commerce exports. Besides a system where counterfeits, unsafe products, and chemicals used to make hard drugs can slip into the US, 3 ripple effects of this boom are 1. Through the chemicals needed to make these plastic trinkets and cheap clothes, it's kept oil demand higher than ever. China has been consolidating the factories to make these so-called petrochemicals, going from a shortage to a huge surplus of chemicals like polyester and p-ethylene. China, who already produces around 75% of the world's polyester, has grown output by enough in the past few years to make an additional 100 billion t-shirts annually. In fact, the International Energy Agency has estimated that global oil demand, excluding petrochemical demand, would be lower today than in 2019. Moving chemical production from Europe and Japan to China is keeping oil fuming and its prices high. The second issue, it perpetuates slavery.
Yeah.
There are almost
Sweatshops.
2 million Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region of China who live in internment camps. These are prison camps for the Muslim population to be re-educated into Chinese society. Prisoners suffer horrible abuses, torture, and are put to work in the name of curbing terrorism and religious extremism. Many countries have officially declared the system a genocide, and the United States has passed legislation to block all imports which use this Uyghur labor from entering the country. Teemu officially disagrees with these allegations, saying its low prices are due to its streamlined supply chain, but an independent audit from Ultra Information Solutions seems to have found at least 10 products linked to this slave labor. If the Department of Homeland Security cannot verify the origin of the goods through the de minimis loophole, then it would not stop products that were made at the hands of slaves from being barred entry into the US. And third, it's not fair. Old Joe loves to talk about fair competition with China, but the de minimis law creates an imbalance of costs between direct-to-consumer Chinese suppliers and larger firms who ship in the traditional way. In 2022, Gap paid around $700 million in tariffs. H&M paid $200 million. And across the US, over $111 billion was collected. Teemu and Shein, on the other hand, haven't paid a single dime. Technically, this is not illegal. Teemu is just playing by the US's own rules, but it puts American companies at a huge disadvantage over cheap Chinese sellers on their own home turf. Not fair if you ask most. And this is a reason why there is a movement to get the de minimis threshold de-minimized. Back in 2023, a bill was introduced to the US Senate to reduce the threshold for non-market economies from $800 all the way down to $7. Proponents argue these government-led economies are the ones to unfairly subsidize their exports, bringing their price down below the limit to sneak products into the US. But of course, this bill is mainly aimed at China and their glut of small and medium-sized manufactories in the growing trade war between the two superpowers. In 2024, a law was passed which required ByteDance to either sell TikTok to an American owner or have it banned from the country. The same bill allows the presidents to determine any other foreign adversary controlled application.
That's such like a big ball. Is it not big balls play? Like, you know, you're the top dog, so you're either giving them the option to make the money and sell it to a US company or just ban it. That's just what the US can do. I mean, fair enough. You really are just sort of flexing your muscles on China there, like, flipping hell, man. I didn't know that this was like going to be the outcome. I don't know what's happening since, because I've been hearing TikTok's getting banned in the US for the last like 4 years. But if you're going to use your power, use it for good like this in terms of for your country. I respect it.
Either sell TikTok to an American owner or have it banned from the country. The same bill allows the presidents to determine any other foreign adversary controlled application to have a similar divest or ban ultimatum. The American government is in the mood to de-risk their economic ties with China. That means doing more to protect American brands' intellectual property or blocking the import of drugs from China. In June 2023, the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party released a report on Teemu saying it does next to nothing to keep its supply chains free from slave labor, with no internal audits on its suppliers. In April 2024, Senator Tom Cotton wrote a letter to President Joe asking the government to officially investigate Teemu and ended off with a simple question. If you had the authority, would you ban it? Maybe Teemu does not need to be banned. It might die off on its own. American consumers A, don't like to wait 3 weeks for their deliveries to come, and B, are getting fed up with Teemu's quality. eBay, probably the most similar American equivalent to Teemu, has claimed they faced no additional pressure due to their competitors' rapid entry into their space. Teemu may just be blowing money giving out free cash and deals to consumers who will only click on the site once, get their one package, and switch back to Amazon promptly after. Investors may still love Teemu now, but look back and you'll see many once Chinese superstars have fizzled out over time.
What the hell?
Wish.com had a similar service to Teemu. In fact, pretty much identical.
I didn't know Wish was Chinese either.
But after being the butt of too many Wish version jokes, the company lost over 99% of its
What, from in the memes and stuff? God damn.
value from its peak in 2021. All these viral Teemu haul videos are an echo of those same videos for Wish products. Consumers are curious about the randomness of the purchases, but would never seriously substitute their quality for that. There will probably come a time when Teemu succumbs to either political or consumer pressure. But as for the Chinese e-commerce space as a whole, the incentives are too strong to kill it outright. If Teemu eventually dies, we will probably just see another rise from its ashes. One of the only types of products in the US exempt from the de minimis threshold are agricultural goods. If you want to know why food...
There you go. I've actually watched that video before. Well, there you go, Teemu. I thought Teemu was just a meme. I had no idea it was this huge. They mailed me a Chinese boy instead of my flashlight by accident. The irony of Americans supporting American made and never ever doing it. One of my favorite hypocrisies. They want to shop like a billionaire. It's funny because billionaires don't even do shopping. They have people do it for them. Well, there you go. The most evil company that took over the US. I mean, are you someone who's used Teemu, or have you heard of it, or are you just never really delved into it because you thought, yep, this is not what I want to do? Whether it's the quality of the stuff or you just don't want to risk putting your details and giving them to China or whatever. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.